Strange Tales from a Chinese Studio, Story 38.
Okay, let's unpack this from the very beginning. We have to start with our protagonist, a guy named Wu Qing'an.
Right.
And what immediately caught my attention in the opening of this narrative is how brutally grounded it is. I mean, long before we see even a hint of magic, we start with a human struggle that feels entirely modern.
Yeah, the setup is incredibly realistic.
Wu is brilliant. The text makes it very clear that everyone in his community knows he's brilliant. He was famous in his youth for his raw literary talent. But despite all that potential, he is chronically, desperately poor. Like, struggling to survive poor.
He embodies a very specific cultural archetype, starving scholar. And to understand Wu's psychology here, you have to realize that in the context of the Ming and Qing dynasties, which is the era from which this story emerges, a man's entire worth was on the line.
His whole identity.
Exactly. His family's honor and his economic survival, they were all entirely tied to his intellectual output.
Wow.
But, and here's the kicker, that output only mattered if it translated into passing the imperial civil service examinations.
Right, the exams.
If you didn't pass, your brilliance meant absolutely nothing materially.
Yeah.
You were a failure. It is a crushing existential amount of pressure to live under.
I want to dig into that pressure for a second because the story cranks it up to an absolute 11 by introducing a man named Shed Taishi.
Oh, Getaishi, yeah.
This guy is a powerful official, right? A respected historian, and he is a massive fan of Wu's writing. He loves it so much that he approaches this broke, starving scholar and makes this crazy, life-changing offer.
It really is a wild proposition.
Yeah. He tells Wu, if you achieve high status, if you pass the exams and make something of yourself, I will give you my famously beautiful daughter in marriage.
It is the ultimate dangling carrot. I mean, think about what this represents to Wu.
Everything.
Exactly. It's not just a promise of wealth or, a comfortable government job. It is the absolute pinnacle of societal validation.
Right.
Marrying into an elite family like Yataishi's and securing a notoriously beautiful bride to boot would instantly transform Wu from a local intellectual curiosity into a man of undeniable power and prestige.
It's like winning the lottery, but you have to earn the ticket.
Yes. In this society, this is the singular dream.
Yeah.
It is everything a young scholar is supposed to want, all wrapped up in a single offer.
So Wu has his motivation. He's got the golden ticket lined up, just hovering right in front of him. All he has to do is pass the upcoming autumn exams.
Right.
So he takes the exams, and he fails.
Ooh, yeah.
He completely bombs out. The system rejects him.
Which is a devastating, humiliating blow.
I can't even imagine.
In these classical narratives, a failure like this is usually the catalyst for a moment of deep, transformative despair. The protagonist might contemplate ending his life. He might give up academia to become a merchant or
go groveling, right?
Exactly. He might go groveling to the powerful official begging for mercy or an extension on the arrangement.
But Wu doesn't do any of that. And honestly, this is where I kind of love this guy's sheer audacity.
That's pretty bold.
Instead of groveling, Wu sends a direct message to his incredibly powerful, wealthy, future father-in-law. He essentially says, look, wealth and status are my destiny. It's guaranteed. It's just a matter of time. Please wait 3 years for me.
The nerve of this guy.
Right. He says, if I haven't made it in 3 years, then your daughter can marry someone else. I mean, the confidence.
It's staggering.
It's like a broke startup founder walking into a billionaire venture capitalist's office, pitching an app that just catastrophically crashed during its beta test, and saying, hey, just hold my spot, don't invest in anyone else. I'll be back in exactly 3 years when I'm a unicorn.
The startup founder analogy is actually perfect because it captures the exact flavor of delusion mixed with ambition.
Yeah, delusion is the right word.
It shows a staggering level of self-belief that borders on dangerous arrogance. I mean, Wu does not view his success as a mere possibility or even a probability.
Right, to him it's a sure thing.
He views it as an absolute cosmological certainty that has just experienced a temporary annoying delay. He is completely, deeply anchored to his earthly ambition. He believes he can bend the rigid social structure to his will simply by demanding it.
And he puts his money where his mouth is, in a sense. He studies bitterly hard after sending that message.
He really does.
He isolates himself, locking himself away and just burying his nose in his books day and night. And it's during one of these grueling, lonely study sessions, sitting alone under a bright, clear moon, that the strange scholar finally arrives.
Ah, yes.
A man named Bai Yu just appears out of nowhere.
The entrance of Bai Yu is the hinge on which the entire narrative swings. And the text provides a very specific physical description of Bai that we really need to scrutinize.
Okay, let's hear it.
He is described as having incredibly fair skin, a short beard, a notably narrow waist, and uniquely long fingernails.
Wait, pause on the fingernails, because I know in some historical contexts, having long fingernails was like a flex, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Like it showed you didn't have to work in the fields.
Precisely. Long nails were a massive status symbol among the elite. It indicated a life entirely free from manual labor, the mark of a pure, unadulterated scholar.
Right, that makes sense.
However, you have to look at the whole package here.
Yeah.
Combined with the unnaturally fair skin, which the text implies is almost luminous, and the unusually narrow, delicate waist, the long nails take on a different context. They give Bai an otherworldly, fragile yet slightly unsettling appearance. It's a very deliberate visual cue. The author is signaling to you that this man, while dressed as a scholar, does not operate under the same biological or physical rules as the mundane world Wu inhabits.
Even with that slightly eerie, uncanny valley vibe, Wu and Bai actually hit it off instantly.
They do.
They start talking, and Wu feels like his mind is just being blown wide open. It's this incredibly expansive intellectual conversation. They get along so well that Bai actually moves in with him.
Yeah, they become roommates.
They become roommates in this tiny, dilapidated study.
They do, but an intellectual tension begins to build almost immediately. And it stems from a fundamental difference in what they are reading.
Right, their study materials.
Wu is grinding away at standard, rigid exam essays. He is trying to hack the bureaucratic system to get his status, his money, and his bride. Bai, on the other hand, is reading highly unusual texts. Esoteric writings that have absolutely zero practical application for passing a civil service exam.
Which eventually leads to Bai making a very specific move. He offers Wu a book. It's called The Yellow Court.
Yes.
Now, I had to look this up, but this is essentially a foundational manual on Daoist breathing techniques and internal alchemy, right? It's basically the step-by-step guide to becoming an immortal.
That is exactly what it is. The Yellow Court Classic is a real, highly influential text in Daoist history. By handing this to Wu, Bai is offering him the ultimate cheat code to the universe.
Wow.
He's essentially saying, why are you making yourself miserable stressing over these arbitrary exams, seeking validation from earthly officials who will be dust in a few decades, when you could literally transcend all of it? You could conquer death.
And Wu's reaction completely threw me when I read this. He ignores it.
Completely ignores it.
He just pushes the book aside. He doesn't even open it. When Bai finally calls him out and presses him on it, Wu gives a shockingly honest answer.
He does.
He admits he doesn't want to sever his earthly ties. He doesn't want to extinguish his human desires. He wants the messy, painful, tangible, human stuff.
It's a brilliant philosophical moment. I mean, you have Bai offering the absolute pinnacle of spiritual achievement. Freedom from suffering, freedom from time.
Right, the ultimate prize.
But Wu actively, consciously chooses the painful, grueling, anxiety-ridden path of human society. When Bai asks him point blank why he isn't married if he loves the human world so much, Wu quotes a classic ancient line.
What does he say?
He says, I have a weakness, I love beauty, which can also be translated as I love color, or I am drawn to sensuality.
Let me get this straight. He's explicitly holding out for Ge Taishi's famously beautiful daughter.
Yeah.
He's looking an immortal being in the eye and saying, no thanks to eternal life, inner peace, and conquering death. I'm going to stick to this rat-infested room because I am waiting for my really hot fiancé.
As ridiculous as it sounds when you phrase it that way, yes.
Yeah.
That is exactly what is happening.
That is wild.
But it is a profound philosophical stance, too.
Yeah.
It is a complete rejection of the ascetic ideal. You know, in Taoism and Buddhism, desire is the root of suffering. You eliminate desire to achieve peace.
Right, you detach.
Wu is declaring the exact opposite. He is saying that human desire, the very thing that is currently causing his poverty, his stress, and his suffering, is the only thing that makes his life worth living. He is fully embracing his flaw.
Bai actually accepts this rejection, too. He doesn't argue.
No, he doesn't.
But his departure is completely wild. He abruptly decides to pack up and leave. And as they were standing there saying their goodbyes, a green cicada lands on the desk between them.
Ah, the green cicada. This is a heavily loaded symbol.
Really? Tell me about that.
In Chinese culture, the cicada represents rebirth, immortality, and transcendence. It spends years buried underground in the dark dirt, only
Yeah.
to emerge, shed its earthly shell, and fly up into the trees to sing.
Oh, wow.
It is the perfect avatar for a Daoist immortal.
Well, it's not just a poetic metaphor here. The text gets incredibly literal.
It really does.
In a flash, Bai shrinks down to the size of a human finger. He hops up, straddles the back of this green cicada like it's a tiny buzzing horse, and he flies straight up into the clouds.
It's an amazing image.
It is such a vivid, bizarre, almost hallucinatory image.
And as he flies away, his parting words to Wu are highly specific instructions. He says, "If you miss me, sweep my bed and sleep on it."
So Wu is left standing alone in his room. His roommate just shrank and flew away on a bug.
Just a normal Tuesday.
Right. And this transitions us beautifully into the next phase of the narrative. A few days pass, it's raining, which always sets a kind of melancholic, reflective mood. Wu is feeling lonely. He misses his weird, brilliant friend. He remembers the bizarre departure instructions. He walks over to Bai's empty bed, which the text notes is currently covered in rat tracks, which I love. By the way, it's such a great, gritty detail showing the decay of the mundane world.
It's so visceral.
He sweeps the rat tracks away, cleans the bed, lies down, and goes to sleep.
That sweeping of the bed is vital. It's not just housekeeping.
What is it then?
It is a classic threshold crossing. The sweeping is a ritualistic cleansing, preparing a physical, mundane space to serve as a launch pad for a spiritual journey.
And it works immediately. The moment he falls asleep, the magic kicks in. He is greeted by Bai's boy servant, who seems to have just appeared in the room, and the servant invites him to travel. But the vehicle they use isn't a horse or a carriage, it's a tomfeng, a mythological phoenix.
A giant mythical bird.
Now here is where Wu acts exactly like you or I would. He's a grown, adult human man, and he hesitates. He's looking at this beautiful, elegant bird, and he's thinking, I am way too heavy for this. If I step on this bird, I am going to crush it.
Which is a remarkably grounded, logical reaction to an inherently illogical, magical situation.
It's so funny.
It really reminds us that Wu is still operating under the physical laws of gravity and mass.
Yeah.
He hasn't ascended yet.
Right. But the servant encourages him, tells him to just try. And upon boarding, Wu finds the bird is incredibly spacious. It's like stepping into a magical tent that's vastly bigger on the inside than the outside.
Like a tortoise.
Exactly. They take off, flying higher and higher until they reach the sky gate. But the gate is guarded by a terrifying, massive, giant tiger.
A literal giant tiger.
Wu is absolutely petrified. He freezes, and the tiny boy servant actually has to step in front of this grown man to physically shield him from this celestial beast.
I love that detail because it strips Wu of any heroic pretense.
Yeah, he's not a warrior.
Not at all. It emphasizes his profound vulnerability. He is an intruder in this realm. He does not belong here. And the celestial environment is inherently hostile to his mortal frailty. The fact that a tiny supernatural child has to shield an adult human highlights exactly how out of his depth Wu truly is.
They manage to pass the tiger, and they enter the Guangham Palace, which is the Moon Palace.
Yeah.
And I want to spend some time here because the way the text paints this realm is just breathtaking.
It's beautifully written.
We're talking about crystal steps where the stone is so clear that people look like reflections in a pristine mirror. There are giant cassia trees that are so massively thick it takes multiple people linking arms just to hug the trunk.
Right.
And there is this perpetual, heavy, floral fragrance carried on a wind that never fades.
The sensory language here is doing heavy lifting.
Oh, absolutely.
The crystal steps and the mirror reflections create a sense of pristine, flawless beauty, but it also imparts a cold, illusionary quality. It's a world made of pure light and reflection, totally devoid of dirt or decay.
It's the anti-rat tracks.
Exactly. It is designed to be visually and olfactually overwhelming to a human whose normal environment features rat tracks and dust.
And the people inhabiting this space, as they walk, they see these women wandering around, and the text describes them as having unmatched, elegant bones.
Such a poetic phrase.
It's such a specific, almost anatomical phrase for beauty. And the funny thing is, Wu is staring with his jaw on the floor, but the tiny servant is completely unimpressed.
He's used to it.
He casually leans over and mentions, oh, the Queen Mother's palace has way prettier women than this, but we're in a rush, so we can't go there.
It's hilarious.
It's like he's saying, yeah, this is just the lobby of heaven. The real VIP section is out back.
That casual remark from the servant serves a very specific purpose, though. It sets an impossible standard.
Oh, so?
If these glowing, perfect women are just the warm-up act, the baseline normal for this realm, it completely recalibrates Wu's understanding of beauty.
Mm.
And remember, we know from his rejection of the Immortality Manual that beauty is his primary earthly weakness.
Ah, right. They finally arrive at Bai's personal estate within this celestial realm, and it's gorgeous. We're talking clear running water, pristine white sand, intricate jade carvings everywhere.
Total luxury.
Bai is thrilled to see his friend and throws a lavish party for him. 2 16-year-old girls come out to serve them tea, and then 4 spectacularly beautiful women dripping in pearls and jewels emerge to serve them wine.
Bai is executing his plan perfectly here. This is the ultimate indulgence.
He knows his audience.
He really does. It's a scenario specifically designed to target every single earthly craving Wu has. Wealth, status, aesthetic beauty, sensual pleasure, but elevated to a divine, incorruptible standard.
As the party is going, there's this one sensory detail that the author includes that is so bizarre and yet so deeply intimate, it completely anchors the whole scene.
Oh, the back scratching.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wu is sitting there drinking the celestial wine, listening to heavenly music, and his back starts to itch. Just a normal, annoying human itch. And one of these spectacularly beautiful celestial women simply steps behind him, reaches down into his clothes with her exceptionally long fingernails, and scratches his back for him.
If we pause and connect this to the broader themes of the story, the recurring motif of the long nails is vital.
Mm-hmm.
Think about where we first saw them. On Bai himself, where they served as a marker of his uncanny, otherworldly nature.
Right, the cicada connection.
Now, they appear on this beautiful celestial woman, but instead of being eerie or off-putting, the nails are used for a moment of surprising intimacy and physical relief.
It's almost domesticated.
Exactly. It blends the bizarre magical anatomy of the immortals with a very mundane, physical, almost embarrassing human need.
Yeah, an itch.
It makes the celestial realm feel physically real, tangible. It's not just a realm of floating abstract spirits. It's a place where you have a physical body, and that body can still get an itch that needs scratching. It tricks the mind into accepting the reality of the magic.
It totally grounds the fantasy. It makes Wu and, frankly, the reader feel like this is actually happening, not just a hazy, drug-induced dream.
It's a brilliant narrative trick.
But as the wine flows and the party goes on, the boundaries between the dream and reality, and more dangerously, the boundaries between the mortal and the immortal, start to blur in a really terrifying way.
Yes, the tone of the narrative shifts quite dramatically here. It moves from wondrous to very tense.
Wu gets a little tipsy from the heavenly wine, and you know how it is when people get tipsy, they get bold.
They forget their place.
Exactly. He starts actively teasing the women serving him. There are 2 women in particular who catch his eye, one wearing a purple dress and one in a pale white dress. They are playfully hiding behind pillars, refusing to come forward. Eventually, Bai coaxes the purple-dressed woman to step up and serve Wu his wine, and Wu, feeling entirely too confident, playfully reaches out and grabs her delicate wrist.
This is a critical error on his part.
Yeah.
It is very human, very flawed action. He is treating a celestial, immortal being the exact same way he might treat a hostess at a cheap earthly tavern. He is imposing his heavy, mortal physicality onto a creature of pure ether.
And the reaction is immediate and shocking. She is so startled by his touch that she drops the jade wine cup.
It shatters.
Right. Scolds her for being clumsy in front of a guest, but as she kneels down to pick up the pieces, she murmurs a poem. It's cryptic and honestly incredibly eerie. She whispers, "Cold as a ghost's hand forcing to grab one's arm."
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. I need you to explain this to me because I was totally lost when I read this.
Sure.
She drops the cup and she calls him a ghost. She's the magical fairy spirit living in the clouds. He's the warm-blooded, living human being. Why on earth is she calling him a ghost?
It is a brilliant, terrifying inversion of perspective. You have to look at this through the lens of Daoist cosmology.
Okay.
To Wu, these women are glowing, beautiful, ethereal immortals. They're the pinnacle of life. But what is a human from the perspective of an immortal?
A short-lived creature.
Worse. A human is a creature trapped in a cycle of birth, decay, and death. A human is made of heavy, corruptible matter. In the grand timeline of an immortal, a human life is so fleeting that a mortal is essentially just a corpse that hasn't started rotting yet.
Whoa. So to her, he's the monster.
Exactly. To the purple-dressed woman, Wu's sudden, clumsy grasp didn't feel like a romantic, flirtatious gesture from a handsome man. It felt like the freezing, grotesque, heavy touch of dead matter.
Oh, that's disgusting.
Right. The ghost's hand is the touch of mortality invading her immortal sphere. It reminds you that Wu is the anomaly here. He might be the protagonist to us, but he is the horror element in their world.
That is so chilling. He thinks he's being the suave, charming VIP guest, but he's actually the creeping, decaying ghoul crashing the party.
Exactly.
But here's the thing about Wu. His earthly desires are so overpowering that they completely override his common sense. Even after being called a ghost, he turns to Bai and bluntly asks if these heavenly beauties can satisfy his human desires.
He just powers right through the insult.
Can he sleep with them? And Bai, playing the ultimate accommodating host, says, "Sure, my friend, take your pick." But Wu looks at the women, and he is so overwhelmed by the sheer, terrifying perfection of all of them that he literally cannot make a decision.
His human brain simply cannot process the abundance of celestial perfection. In the mundane world, beauty is rare and flawed, so choice is relatively easy.
Right.
Here, beauty is absolute. He is paralyzed by the infinite.
So Bai steps in and makes the choice for him. He assigns the purple-dressed woman, the one Wu grabbed to woo for the night. They spend the night together, but as dawn approaches, she has to leave abruptly.
Yeah.
She tells him she has to rush back for her celestial morning shift, which is a funny bureaucratic detail in heaven.
Even heaven has a 9 to 5.
Right. But before she leaves, she takes off a physical token and gives it to him. A heavy gold armlet or bracelet.
It is a romantic parting gift on the surface, but from a literary perspective, it is a crucial narrative device.
It's evidence.
Exactly. It is physical evidence.
Right after she leaves, it's time for Wu to go. He leaves the estate. The tiny boy servant who guided him there suddenly vanishes into thin air.
Oh.
And without the servant's protection, that giant, terrifying tiger from the sky gate spots Wu and lets out an earth-shattering roar.
The shield is gone.
Wu is terrified. He stumbles and he falls. He just plummets over the edge of the clouds into a bottomless, rushing void.
It is a violent explosion from heaven. The mortal body, without magical shielding, simply cannot sustain its presence in the divine realm. Gravity and reality violently reassert themselves.
He wakes up with a massive start, gasping for air. He looks around. He's in his dilapidated rat-tracked room.
Back to the mundane.
It's morning. The mundane sun is shining through the window. For a second, it feels like the classic frustrating, it was all a dream trope.
Which would be a letdown.
Right. But then comes the massive aha moment. As he sits up, he shakes out his heavy blankets and something heavy and metallic falls out, hitting the wooden floorboards with a loud clink. He looks down. It's the gold bracelet. The dream wasn't a dream.
The physical residue of the divine has violently crossed over into the mundane world. This moment completely shatters Wu's reality.
Completely.
The philosophical debate is over. The impossible, the eternal, is sitting right there on his dirty floorboards.
And this realization completely breaks him, or rather, it breaks the ambitious, earthly version of him.
The one who wanted to pass the exams.
Think about it. The guy who audaciously told his powerful future father-in-law, just wait 3 years, I'll be a rich, powerful official, suddenly looks at his exam books and feels nothing but disgust.
They seem utterly pointless now.
Exactly. He doesn't care about the exams anymore. He doesn't care about status or money or get Tai Chi's daughter. He wants to become a Daoist hermit.
Yeah.
He wants to strip away everything and go back to that celestial realm.
But he can't.
Right. He is still chained to the earth. He has one massive, insurmountable societal anchor keeping him in the real world.
And what is that anchor?
He doesn't have an heir.
Yeah. Yes. To understand why this is an insurmountable trap for Wu, we have to talk deeply about filial piety.
Let's do it.
In classical Chinese society, shaped heavily by Confucianism, filial piety isn't just about respecting your parents while they are alive. It is a cosmic, eternal contract.
It goes beyond death.
Far beyond. The philosopher Mencius famously stated, there are 3 ways to be unfilial, and having no heir is the worst.
Why is it the worst, though?
Because if you do not produce a son, there is no one to carry on the family name, and more importantly, no one to perform the ancestral rites. Without those rites, the spirits of your ancestors literally starve in the afterlife.
So wait, let me make sure I'm getting this. Even if Wu becomes an immortal god who lives forever and flies on clouds, he's still considered a massive failure if he doesn't have a human kid first.
Exactly. Becoming an immortal without leaving an heir is an incredibly selfish act in this framework. It means you secure eternal paradise for yourself, sure, but you're condemning generations of your ancestors to spiritual oblivion. Wu cannot simply walk away into the mountains. Doing so without a son would be a profound moral and cosmic failure.
So he's stuck.
He is trapped, utterly paralyzed, between his newly awakened desire for spiritual enlightenment and his inescapable earthly duty.
But the text, brilliantly and somewhat conveniently, solves this philosophical nightmare with another supernatural loophole.
Yes, it does.
Months pass. Wu is miserable. He is taking a nap one afternoon, and he dreams of the purple-dressed woman again. She walks into his room holding a baby wrapped in swaddling clothes. She walks up to the bed, hands him the child, and says, "Heaven cannot keep this. Here is your flesh and blood." And then she looks at him and adds this incredibly cold final statement.
What did she say?
She says, "Our 100 years of marriage ends here."
Wow. It is a brutal severing of ties. She is delivering the biological consequence of their union, acknowledging the reality of what happened, but she is making it unequivocally clear that their worlds cannot remain entangled.
Right.
She is formally divorcing him across dimensions.
Wu wakes up from the dream, and once again, the dream has left physical residue. He isn't holding a phantom. There is a literal, physical, warm human baby crying in his bed.
What's fascinating here is how the magic functions in the narrative. The magic isn't just there for spectacle or, world building.
It serves a practical purpose.
Exactly. It acts as a precise mechanical tool to resolve Wu's specific societal bind. He gets his heir, he has fulfilled his ultimate duty to his ancestors, but he did it via supernatural means without having to actually participate in a human marriage.
It's a massive shortcut.
The celestial baby is the ultimate severance package. Wu is now effectively, legally, and morally free from his earthly anchors.
He finally got his golden parachute, and he is ready to jump. But this is exactly where the narrative sharply, almost violently pivots.
It really does a 180 here.
Because Wu's earthly duties were just outsourced to the celestial baby, the story forces us to stop looking at the magic and start looking at the devastating human cost of his spiritual enlightenment.
Right.
The camera pans away from the heavens. We are going to focus entirely on the ultimate earthly devotion, specifically the incredible, almost terrifying resilience of his fiancée, Taishi's daughter.
Yes. The narrative completely shifts its center of gravity. It moves away from the man selfishly seeking heaven and roots itself deeply into the woman who is forced to stay grounded on earth.
Wu goes to get Taishi, the powerful official who promised him his daughter. Wu says, "Look, I'm out. I'm abandoning my studies. I am going to the mountains to become a Daoist hermit. Please break the engagement and marry your daughter to someone else, someone who can actually give her a good life." Now, on the surface, I read this and thought, okay, he's finally doing the right thing, right? He knows he's going to disappear, so he's releasing her from the contract.
On a modern, superficial level, it seems considerate. But in the context of the period, he is attempting to unilaterally break a sacred social contract because it no longer serves his personal spiritual goals. He severely underestimates the daughter's character and the rigid moral code she lives by.
She hears about his request, and she absolutely refuses. She tells her father and essentially the whole community that everyone knows she is promised to Wu. The engagement was public, and she uses this incredibly powerful defining phrase.
What the phrase?
She says, "To change now is to have two skies."
Two skies. That is so heavy.
What's that mean exactly?
Meaning, just as the earth can only sit beneath one sky, a virtuous woman can only ever be bound to one husband, whether the marriage has been consummated or not.
Wow.
Is the absolute pinnacle of classical Confucian virtue. She is rigidly adhering to a moral code that dictates extreme, unyielding loyalty. She considers herself bound by the promise of the marriage, even if the reality of the marriage is completely doomed.
She doubles down. She insists she will gladly eat wild herbs, live in poverty, and serve his aging mother, absolutely refusing to marry anyone else, no matter how rich or powerful the new suitor might be.
It's extreme devotion.
I was trying to think of how to frame the sheer madness of this commitment for a modern listener. It is like someone marrying a partner they know, for an absolute guaranteed fact, is moving to a colony on Mars on a one-way trip the very next morning.
Right, they are never coming back.
Never. You will never see them again. And they are doing it simply out of an unshakable foundational principle of loyalty.
The Mars analogy captures the practical absurdity of her decision perfectly. It highlights how incomprehensible her sacrifice is to a mindset focused on personal happiness.
Exactly. It makes no sense to us.
But it underscores the profound, almost terrifying strength of her conviction. She is not acting out of romantic passion. She is acting out of moral duty, She is actively, with open eyes, choosing a life of immense loneliness and hardship because she believes it is the right thing to do.
So, defying all logic, they actually get married. And she steps into his dilapidated home and becomes the perfect wife.
She steps right into the poverty.
She is incredibly filial. She serves Wu's aging mother perfectly, taking over all the household duties. 2 grueling years go by like this. Then the mother dies. The family is incredibly poor, remember. So, to pay for the proper, elaborate funeral rites that society demands, the wife actually sells her own dowry.
Oh, wow.
The wealth, the jewelry, the financial safety net she brought into the marriage from her wealthy father, she sells it all.
You cannot overstate the weight of that action.
Really? How big of a deal was the dowry?
Huge. A woman's dowry in this era was often her only true personal property. It was her only leverage, her only insurance against disaster of an abusive husband.
Oh, I didn't realize it was that critical.
By selling it to bury her mother-in-law, she strips herself of her own financial security to ensure her husband's family is honored in death. It is the ultimate selfless act of filial piety. She has erased herself for his family.
And how does our enlightened spiritual protagonist, Wu, respond to this incredible display of virtue, sacrifice, and financial ruin?
Oh, this part.
He looks at her, nods, and says, "With you here, I have no worries. I leave everything to you." And he walks out the door and disappears into the mountains to become an immortal. Let's look at the baby, Mengxian, which literally translates to dream immortal, a nice little nod to his origin. Mingxian grows up entirely under Gira's strict, incredibly capable guidance. She raises him alone, and he turns out to be an absolute prodigy.
A genius.
He passes the grueling provincial exams at age 14. By 15, he is admitted into the highly prestigious Hanlin Academy. He achieves the exact massive worldly success that his father originally craved but abandoned.
And we need to emphasize what that means. The Hanlin Academy was the absolute zenith of scholarly achievement in imperial China. It was the emperor's personal think tank.
So extremely exclusive.
For a 15-year-old to enter it is bordering on the supernatural. But the text implies he achieves this not just because of his celestial bloodline, but directly because of his earthly mother's relentless discipline and virtuous guidance. She forged him.
But here's the catch. Mingxian only knows Jili as his biological mother. He doesn't know the wild origin story about the dream, the purple-dressed woman, or the cicadas.
He's in the dark.
When he gets a bit older and finally learns the truth about his missing father from relatives, he decides he wants to find him. Which brings us to the final spectacular act.
Yes, the convergence.
This is where all the disparate dangling threads of the story, the father's disappearance into the mountains, the son's journey, the magical gold bracelet, and the mother's decades of sacrifice, they all come crashing back together.
The narrative structure here is masterful. It takes the celestial realm and the earthly realm, which have been moving in opposite directions, and violently weaves them back into a single tapestry.
Mingxian, who is now a high-ranking, important official, is traveling with a large entourage to offer sacrifices at the southern peak. The journey is treacherous. Suddenly, his entourage is ambushed by a massive group of vicious bandits. His guards are overwhelmed. Things look incredibly grim. It looks like the prodigy's life is going to end right there on the road.
It's a life or death moment.
But out of nowhere, a mysterious Daoist priest appears on the battlefield. He wields a sword with supernatural speed, completely routs the bandits, destroys their ranks, and single-handedly saves Mingxian's life.
It is a classic Deus ex machina,
Yeah.
the sudden intervention of a god. But it comes with a deeply personal, emotional twist.
Right. Mengxian, breathing heavily, tries to offer the Daoist gold and silver as a reward for saving his life, but the man calmly refuses the wealth.
He doesn't need it.
Instead, he reaches into his robes and gives Mengxian 2 very specific items, instructing him to take them back to his hometown. First, a sealed letter addressed to someone named Wang Lin. Second, a beautifully crafted, incredibly heavy gold bracelet.
Ah, the return of the physical residue of the divine.
Yes.
The very same object that shattered Wu's reality decades ago is now returning to close the loop.
Exactly. Mingxian survives the journey, takes these mysterious items back home, and presents them to his mother, Ji. He explains the ambush and says, "This strange, incredibly powerful Daoist saved me. He refused my gold, but told me to give this letter to someone named Wang Lin." But he tells her, "Mother, I've checked the village records, I've asked the elders. There is no one in our entire region named Wang Lin."
This is where the text plays a beautiful cryptographic linguistic game that requires a bit of cultural decoding to fully appreciate.
Yes. Let's break down this Chinese character puzzle for you.
Please do.
The Daoist addressed the letter to the name Wang Lin. In Chinese writing, characters can be combined to form new meanings. If you take the character for Wang, which translates to king, and you place it directly next to the character for Lin, which translates to forest, they compress and combine to create a single, entirely new character. That character is Lin, but a different Lin. And this Lin translates to beautiful jade.
It's a visual pun, a secret message embedded directly into the architecture of the written language itself.
When Maxine's mother sees the characters on the envelope and puts it together, she immediately bursts into tears. Because Lin, meaning beautiful jade, was her highly guarded, secret childhood nickname.
Oh, wow.
A name only her parents and the man she was promised to would ever possibly know. The mysterious Daoist who descended from the mountains to save her son was Wu, her long-lost husband.
It reveals that Wu did achieve his immortality, but he didn't achieve complete detachment.
He still cares.
He is still watching over his earthly family from the clouds. He intervenes to save the son he abandoned, and he sends a deeply personal message back to the wife who bore the crushing weight of his absence for decades.
And the letter isn't just a simple, "Hello, sorry I left." Inside the envelope, along with the note, is a literal immortality pill.
A physical, chemical manifestation of his decades of spiritual achievement offered back as compensation to the mundane world.
And the effects of this pill are immediate, dramatic, and honestly, pretty funny.
They really are.
Ged decides to share it. She gives a small piece to her father, Get Taishi, the powerful official who originally orchestrated the marriage. But decades have passed. Get Taishi is now over 70 years old.
Right, he's an old man.
He's frail, he's elderly, he can barely move. He eats just a tiny piece of this pill. Suddenly, he is infused with this explosive supernatural energy.
It gets zapped.
He jumps out of his carriage, abandons it on the road, and starts power walking so incredibly fast that his young, physically fit servants are left gasping for air, clutching their chests, desperately trying to keep up with this speeding 70-year-old man.
It's a brilliant moment of levity, but it serves a narrative purpose too.
What's that?
It visually demonstrates the sheer, raw, terrifying power of the celestial realm when it interacts with mortal flesh. It literally reverses the flow of time and decay.
But the real climax, the moment of absolute cinematic awe, happens a bit later. A massive, uncontrollable fire breaks out in the densely packed capital city.
A disaster.
We're talking a catastrophic inferno whipped by the wind, burning tens of thousands of wooden homes to the ground. It is an apocalyptic wall of flame, and it is raging directly toward the Wu family estate. Everyone inside is panicking. They are trapped in the courtyard watching this inferno approach, knowing they are about to be burned alive.
Fire is the ultimate destructive force of the natural world. It is threatening to completely consume the family that has been the focal point of all this intense supernatural intervention. It is the final test of the magic's power in the physical world.
And then the magic activates. I want to describe the visual of this climax clearly because it is so striking. Jay, the mother, is wearing that heavy gold bracelet on her wrist. The one from the celestial dream, the one Wu sent back with their son.
Right.
As the heat of the fire hits the walls, the bracelet suddenly flies off her arm on its own. It sheets high into the night air and begins to expand. It grows massively, reaching the size of several acres, hovering high over their entire estate like a glowing, protective, golden moon halo.
It becomes a literal, glowing dome of protection, shielding the family from the apocalypse.
The roaring fire hits this magical force field and is completely deflected. The flames literally part around the property, unable to penetrate the golden light. The entire estate is perfectly saved.
Well,
Almost perfectly.
yes. The author includes one crucial, highly specific, and deeply meaningful exception to the miracle.
One small pavilion, located exactly in the southeast corner of the estate, burns completely to the ground. Ashes. Why? Because the gold bracelet, as expansive and magical and powerful as it became, still retained its fundamental physical shape. And bracelets, by design, have a small gap in the clasp to let your wrist slip through.
Right, the opening.
When the bracelet expanded over the estate, that tiny gap expanded too, and that gap was pointing exactly at the southeast corner. The fire slipped right through the flaw in the jewelry. It is such a brilliant telling detail. After the fire finally burns itself out and passes, the giant glowing halo shrinks back down, drops out of the sky, and lands right at Gur's feet with a quiet clink.
The crisis is over.
The city around them is reduced to smoking ashes, but they are completely safe. And the final lingering image we get in the story is of Gur's, the stoic, suffering wife who endured decades of abandonment, who is now well into her 50s. She has been passively absorbing the celestial aura of her half-immortal son. She ingested the immortality pill, and she wielded the magical bracelet. The text notes that people look at her and realize she looks exactly like a 20-year-old woman.